Now that you have your fusible fleece attached to both sides of your bag, we're going to match them up right sides together, and we're going to match the seam line from where that band and the body match. And so we're going to match that right up there. We're going to put a pin right there. We're going to come to the other side, and we're going to match this side so that we make sure that our seams, when we seam this together, they actually match and make a continuous band all the way around the bag. And then once we get that secured, we're going to come and pin the rest of our bag down the side seams. So all the way to the corners. Again, pinning perpendicular so that your fabric does not slip. So we're just doing the sides at this time. Each side. All right, so now we're going to seam up each side down to this corner. Don't go into your actual corner here, but just come down to that point. You should have a dot, so you're going to seam down to that dot. So again, at 1/2 inch, you're going to back tack to the edge, and then seam all the way down to your pin where you have matched your seams here. We're going to go all the way down to that dot and back tack. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So this time I'm going from the bottom up just because it's easier to get the fabric in. So start at the point, back tack, 1/2 inch seam allowance, all the way up to your pin that is holding your seams together. All the way to the top and back tack. Okay, so now that is the side seams of our bag, and we're going to go press those open right here. All right, so now that you have your side seams stitched and they're busted open at the ironing station, you're going to do the bottom seam. So again, it's just from this corner to this corner. Don't worry about this corner just yet. So we're going to pin this in place. And you'll notice that your fusible fleece is not, it's just barely into your seam allowance, so it just catches it, just to keep it secured. We don't want it all the way in the seam allowance because it will create too much bulk. So 1/2 inch. All the way across the bottom. And now you're going to press this one open. And you'll have to do this at the ironing station through the bag. So you'll have to open it up and put it on the board flat. We're just going to open it from each side. We're going to flip it over. We're going to do the same thing over here. So now that you have your seams pressed, you're going to take the corner and you're going to take the right in the middle of the L of that corner, and you're going to pull them apart to where your bottom seam and your side seams are going to line up with each other. So we're going to put those right there, and we're going to pin that seam in place so that they match after we get through. And then I'm also going to put a pin on this end and on this end. Now you're going to take the bag and you're going to kind of match up the seams here. We're going to open it up and lay it out kind of flat because you want this seam to be straight. So you just keep pulling your bag out until you've got a straight line right here. And then we're going to stitch this at a 1/2 inch. Make sure to keep your seam allowance open, so you may have to hold it. And you go all the way to the end. Make sure you back tack over the fold because you don't want to hold in the hole in the corner of your bag. And look at the underside. Make sure you haven't caught anything. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other corner. So we're going to pull these corners out from each other. Pinch them together and match your seams by laying them right on top of each other. Pin that in place. We're going to pin each end. Lay it flat. Stitch at a 1/2 inch. Hold your seam allowance down so that it stays open. Go all the way to the fold. Okay, so now we've got our corner stitched. And at this point, we're going to turn our bag right side out. Just reach in and pull it out. And you will see all of the seams that you created from the side seam to the bottom to your corners. If you have any extra little threads, just clip them off. And then you see the contrast to the body, to the bottom of the bag. It's all stitched together. And at this point, we'll be ready to move on to the lining. So now for the straps, you have 2 straps that are out of the same fabric as the band, and we're going to fold them in half, right sides together. So you want the good side to be on the inside. I always start in the middle because I want to make sure that it actually folds evenly and it doesn't skew. So I start in the middle and move down one side. And then I go to the other side. And that just, again, makes sure that this doesn't skew anywhere along the fold. So now we're going to pin the other one. Get ready to sew. Start in the middle. Pin. Okay, so once you have those pinned, we're going to stitch these at the 1/2 inch. Thread caught there. Make sure you stitch these as straight as possible because these are going to be your straps and you want them to be even width. That's the first one. I'm going to stitch the second one. So once you have them stitched together, we're going to trim out this seam half its width. So we're going to trim it to 1/4 inch. Second one, same way. So the reason that we trim is to decrease the amount of bulk that's going to be in that strap. So you want to make sure that you don't skip this step. It'll also make it much easier to turn inside out. Okay, so now to turn them inside out, we're going to take a safety pin, a big safety pin. And we're going to pin right in the fold, just like that. So you're just going to go into the fold and then come out the end. We're going to secure that safety pin. We're going to put the head of it down into the strap, and this edge is going to follow that end of the safety pin. And we're going to move the safety pin and hold it with your left hand and just start pulling the strap. Keep moving it down. Keep pulling the strap. It's going to start turning in on itself. You just keep moving it down. Keep pulling it. Don't pull too hard. You don't want to pull your stitches out. Then you'll have to stop and do it again. So we're just moving it all the way till your pin comes out the other end. And then you catch the end of your strap right there. I'm going to unpin it. I'm going to take the rest of this and pull it through. So then your seam that you have right here that you just created, you're going to want to make sure that it is right on the edge of your strap. We don't want it in the middle like this, because we don't want to see it. We want to make sure that it is right on the edge. So I'm finger pressing this into place, just rolling it to where that seam is rolling all the way out, kind of busting the seam open with my fingers, if you will, but I'm just rolling it out. I'm going to go all the way up, and then I'm going to take this to the iron and I'm going to press it flat. So just like that. So we're going to do the same thing for the second one. Put your safety pin in the end. Secure it, tuck it in, and start moving it down the channel of the strap. There are turners that you can actually get to do this, but I have never had anything more successful than a safety pin to turn straps. So again, you want to make sure that you're finger pressing this, that seam right on the edge. Just rolling it out as far as it'll go, where you can see, actually almost see your stitches that you created. And then we'll go to the iron once I've done all that all the way down, and we'll press this flat. We're just going to roll this seam to where it's right on the edge. Take our iron, and I just continue to roll as I iron this flat. You can kind of see where it's tucked in there, and we want to get all of that out. If we don't get it out, it's going to shorten our strap. Edge. So now once you have your straps flat, you're going to top stitch them, and you're going to do that on your 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that's that very first line. I'm going to lengthen my stitch to about 3.5 because that's going to be a really good top stitch. And I do back tack just to keep it secure. And I go all the way down the length of my strap, and you can see where it's kind of see. The thread matches so well you can't. But this is just going to give some more stability to our strap as it holds all the weight of the bag. Now I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to do the other side. I don't turn it over. I do it from the same side because you want it to be the top side. So again, most of the time these stitches are going to be seamed because they are a top stitch, a decorative stitch on top. So make sure you are following along as close to that 1/4 of an inch mark as you can. So that just keeps my strap flat, and it also gives it stability. So now I'm going to do the second one. Around to the other side. And there you have your straps ready to be attached to your bag.